Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So we are super excited this morning. We have Dr. Judy Wright. So I ask that everybody like, share, and comment on this video because we want to go in and we want to delve into what Dr. Judy Wright is doing for these organizations. So Dr. Judy, tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words.
Thank you, Dr. Viola. It's a pleasure being here. So I am a physician, and I'm a family physician, actually, who always wanted to help people and their wellness. And I've always realized that wellness is all encompassing, but when you're solely in the space of taking care of people, you know, Dr. Viola's healthcare is like a business, and it really can hamper how you go about practicing, medicine, doing nursing. It really can hamper it. And so, from my point of view, as somebody who was a sociology major in college, I always wanted to understand people, communities, and just really hone in on the fact that we are whole people with whole lives, and all of that is affecting our wellness and our health. And so a few years ago, 3 years to be exact, I started JW Health Consulting, where I help professionals, I empower them to prioritize their health and wellness. We're very stressed out in this world. It's really affecting us. And I want them to be able to focus on themselves and their whole wellness and their self-care and being balanced and meeting success on their terms.
I love it. As you were talking, I was thinking about this instance where we had this, it was patient and the patient, and I want to say that the patient had a job where like they were on Lasix and they just couldn't, like they were driving the bus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, they were driving the bus all day long and they couldn't necessarily go to the bathroom whenever they needed to go to the bathroom. And so taking into consideration that the entire picture, right?
Yeah.
So that we can tailor it specifically to them and help them manage their own healthcare. That's super, super important. So tell me a little bit about, so we're just going to go back to, because we always go back to the reason why, okay, you became who you are, right? So let's go back to why you even wanted to become a physician.
I was that weird kid. I liked physicians. I liked going to the doctor. I didn't mind shots. I liked talking to the doctors. Hospitals didn't bother me. I was that weird child that my mom would be like, we'll go to the doctor. And I'm like, yay. I admired without realizing that at 8 years old, right? It was admiration at 8, but I admired what they did, right? Like they really were helping people. People looked, they felt better. They looked better when they came out from the physician. They looked relieved. Even if they went in worried, they looked relieved. And I wanted to be a part of that. And, to be very honest, my mother probably was gearing us all, traditional stuff, gearing us to nursing or, being a lawyer, doctor, that kind of thing. So I knew that I wanted to be a doctor very early because of that. And then the sociology thing hit me all unaware. I took a sociology class in college, loved it. So at a time when everybody else was going to be that was gearing to go to medical school was going to be biology majors and biochemistry majors, here I was saying, I'm going to be a sociology major. I want to understand people. Because I knew I was going back into the community. So I really wanted to understand how that works.
It's interesting. When I was in undergrad, I took sociology. I think I took a sociology class, one of them. Anyway, I didn't really understand it. Like I was like, what is this? Right. And so if someone out there, if you're on this podcast and you're listening, and I want you to drop what your parents thought you should be and what you ended up becoming. Okay. Just drop it in the chat, what your parents wanted you to be and what you ended up becoming. Because our parents have this sight of us, right? And they have this sight of what we should do, but then at the end of the day, we need to lean into what we really want to do. So
If
now,
I came home telling them I was going to be a sociology major, Dr. Viola, you might have had a problem. Like if I said I'm going to be a sociologist, there might have been a problem. I'm just saying.
Hilarious. But it's good that at least they knew that, right? Because sometimes I think that when you don't have people to steer you in the right way, then it causes you to spend years and years and years studying something that you're not even going to do anything with, right?
Right.
So I think it's a good thing that they at least have that foresight to be able to lead you in that manner. So now, once you became a physician, so prior to you becoming a physician, tell us a little bit about going to medical school.
Ooh. um to me, my path was clear that I was going to go to medical school and it was going to go smoothly. A lot of people that are physicians are type A and are used to being top and excellent. But as you go further up, everybody is that way, right? And medical school, I'm not gonna lie, medical school was difficult for me. It was difficult. It was not a straight path for me. And but I forged my way through. Some hiccups, but I definitely forged my way through because that's what we do. And we push and we push and we push until I could refocus and know I was going to make it through. So, I know as a nurse, like I used to, my sister's a nurse and I used to see what she went through. And when I was in residency, I used to see what the nursing students went through. And even though I was going through my own fire, I'm like, my goodness, why does it have to be this way? So I know you understand that you're in it. It's not easy. It has you question some things. But in the end, in my mind, there was a goal. The goal was clear. That's what I'm going for.
That's good. I think that we are because the body is so unique, it's almost like we're fire hosed with all that information, right? And and not just all the information, it's all the psychological things that you have to go through within, nursing school or medical school, right? That, look to the left, when you were first in your ACLS class, look to the left, look to your right, one of those people will be here.
Why?
Why would you anticipate that class is not going to win? I mean,
why do we have to do that? Like, how's that helpful?
Right. It makes absolutely no sense. And so, at the end of the day, that is so true when it comes to how we were, almost, I don't know, hazed within nursing school. I remember, having a nurse, like I was taking care of a patient, and all of my friends or all of the nursing students were in rooms, and I went to the nursing instructor and I asked her, I said, well, can you help me with this patient? She was just saying there talking to another instructor, and she was like, you need to get your other classmates. I said, well, they're all in rooms. Well, I'm not coming to help you. And this lady was a big lady. She was really tall, and she was just a big lady, right? And I struggled to get her from one place to the other. But that's sometimes how you get hurt, because number
Yep.
one, and it now did help me to learn how to transfer a patient, right? But because I always think that whenever you go through anything, there's always some good and there's always some bad, right? And you just have to take the good from that. And so that's kind of where she just traumatized me a little bit. But anyway, so let's talk about let's talk about you and how you got breast cancer. Breast cancer. So tell me about that journey and how did you find out?
Yeah. So now I am working in a corporate situation, and I had been kind of not kind of. Let's be honest. I had been ignoring my own wellness.
Oh.
Right. I had been ignoring my own wellness, ignoring my own balance. I had not been taking care of myself. It dwindled as years went on. Um, and here it is, 2019, and I finally go pick a new OBGYN because I hadn't seen one in years. And mine pretty much retired. And then I said, okay. And she did a breast exam.
Hmm.
And she told me she felt a lump. And in my very doctor head, I said, well, this woman doesn't know I have lumpy breasts. It's her first time meeting me. It's probably just my regular lumpy breast, da da da. But I tell you, Dr. Viola, I had full intention of going to the mammogram that she wrote that prescription for, that order. Um, and even though it was more of a diagnostic
Hmm.
order than routine,
Hmm.
that's not what my brain said. And sure as you're born, because I had not been taking care of myself, I had not been really paying attention to myself, I walked out the door with full intentions to schedule it and totally forgot. And about a month later, I'm holding a get together. And my best friend, who her lifelong friend was actively dying from gallbladder cancer, made us all promise that we're going to take care of ourselves, that we're going to go to our appointments, that we're going to do all of that. And I said, oh, yeah, this was on a Saturday. So on the Monday, I scheduled, and then we're in September. October, breast cancer month, is when my appointment is. Go into my appointment, schedule for regular lunchtime. It won't take me time, and I'll go back to work. It'll be on my lunch break. 2 hours in, I was like, well, this isn't right. Something's very wrong, because they keep taking me from room to room and doing more imaging. And finally, when they have me in the last room and the radiologist walks in, I knew. Because Dr. Viola, the radiologist
Don't walk in on a
don't
normal
walk in for nothing. All right. I knew. I knew they found something. And so that's how I had the preliminary suspicious breast finding. They had me, they actually gave me names, and had me in that doctor's office in under a week for the breast surgeon who looked at the imaging, and she was like, I'm pretty sure this is cancer.
Mhm.
Um, and she was like, but if anything, because I actually had two different stages
Mm.
in my left breast, not one, two. She said, if anything, this is more likely going to be breast threatening than life threatening, but we need to do your biopsy. Scheduled me again, did the biopsy, and it did confirm that I had the two stages of breast cancer. And now the work had to begin.
So now,
And
how did they determine that it was two stages of breast
with
cancer?
the biopsy, with the biopsy.
So, but how did she know? It was just her expertise? Like she knew prior to?
It was she was suspicious that it like the way it was showing up that it was two, and
Gotcha.
it was in two different spaces, and that's why she said this may be more than one stage. That's really how she said it. But she said we have to do the biopsy to make sure that it's not spread anywhere. She was actually very good at what she did. She had won awards. She'd been doing this for many years. And I have to say, by the grace of God, I was led to an excellent team. I Because every time I looked, I kind of eeny meeny miny mowed it because everybody they gave me were pretty good. So I just said, I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to pick this one. And every time somebody heard who my breast surgeon was, who the plastic surgeon was, they were like, who the oncologist ended up being, they were like, you picked some good ones. I was like, man, that was a grace of God.
Look at the
Exactly.
love
So
it.
that's really how I found out, and that's what started this journey that I didn't realize I was going to go down.
So let me ask you something about the physician practice that, sent you that, you had the lump in your breast. They sent you for the mammogram. Did they have a follow-up for you?
Um, the OBGYN?
Uh-huh.
That's a good question. I believe she did. I believe she had a follow-up, but when the time came, she did call me because
Mhm.
she got the results. She wanted me to come back in, and I told her everything that was happening, and she felt that I was on the right path. But she did reach out. I don't remember if we actually made another appointment at that time. Do I still follow her to this day? Yeah, she's the one that found the lump in my breast. Absolutely.
So, and the reason why I asked that is because it's interesting because sometimes what happens is like you are a physician, so you knew the importance of it, right? But I think that sometimes when we are talking to patients who don't have the common vernacular that we have, right? They sometimes are like they don't know. So just the other day we were talking and we had an incident with one of my family members and we walked into the room and they did a scan and the scan showed something and he was like, it's an incidental, you can follow up in a year. And what he said was, I was like, follow up in a year, what are you talking about? That's not what we're going to do, right? And so at the time I said, I'm just in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to do what we have to do in order to make this happen, right? But other people, they would have followed up in a year, right?
100%. 100%. And Dr. Viola, what you just hit on is something that I and other colleagues, other nurses, because I used to do a podcast where we talked about navigating this health system that we have been dealt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if anybody wants to go listen, it's all the podcast is still up.
Okay.
It's called Queens on Call podcast because it was me and two nurses, and all we kept saying to each other is, our families have us.
Mm-hmm.
What does everybody else have?
That's right.
What does everybody else have? And even with us, it's still not that easy to
Mm-hmm.
navigate the system. It's because we have the lingo, we have more of the knowledge, we know the questions to ask, because even that is important. When people say, why didn't you ask questions? I didn't know what to ask. I didn't know. They told me something. I didn't know I had to ask any more questions. I didn't know what to ask. This was above my head. So even to ask questions and be able to advocate for yourself and your loved ones is a big deal.
It's a big deal. My niece was in the hospital. She had an anoxic brain injury, and she was in the hospital. And I commend her family because they stayed there the whole time. I mean, I stayed one night, but and we, I just advised them whenever they needed to be advised on whatever they needed. But the reality is now she is opening her eyes. She's tracking you. She's following commands. I mean, and there for a while, it just didn't look good, right? But the reality is that you have to be very intentional about having that, given the good, the bad, the ugly, and just letting them make the decision. But the reality is that they can't make the decision, like you said, if they don't know. They
Exactly.
don't have any
They
idea.
have no idea. They don't know to ask. They're trusting the people who have the ideas. Which, if you have a good rapport with your doctor, great. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't ask questions. If you have a good rapport with your nursing team, great. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't ask questions. Always be ready to advocate for yourself, and that's a muscle that you have to practice flexing.
Mhm. And then not be intimidated, because I think a lot of times what happens is people go into these medical establishments and they get intimidated by the physicians. But what you have to realize is that it is your body. You get one of them. One.
Absolutely,
And if you
absolutely.
don't take care of that one body, then what happens is, and if you don't ask those questions, then you go away and you're struggling, right?
Yes,
And so I'm just,
yes.
and I'm gonna ask all the questions I want to ask. And one thing that I think that people get upset about, and Myron Golden said this yesterday, and it really really helped me. He said a lot of people go into the room and they think that they're the smartest. He said the smartest people are not the people who know everything. The smartest people who are the people who ask the best questions.
That's right.
And so asking questions, asking the surface level question until you can get deep, and asking more and more questions until you really understand what's going on. Because had that happened to someone else, again, with my family member, they would have just like been like, well, okay, and not ask a question. Well, if you found it incidental, then why are we not following up next week? Why do we follow up in a year? What is the difference between what you've seen now and your expertise and what you've seen in the past? I don't understand. Now, I was tired that day and I knew what I was going to do. But had it not been for that, oh, I would have challenged that for sure.
Absolutely. And even just the basic question, if you weren't there, Dr. Viola, what's an incidental? Even just that basic question, don't walk out the door. What does incidental mean? What does that mean? Okay, well, how do you know that was an incidental,
Right.
right? You know, isn't a year pretty far off to be following that up? That kind of thing is really the way. Just start at the basic questions. You don't even have to be like have all this lingo,
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are scared that they're going to be looked at as bothersome, ridiculous, ignorant. Don't be scared of that.
No,
Absolutely not. That's not
because other people's opinion of you is what? None of your business.
none of your business. None of your business. And part of their job, if they can't explain to you, that's a flaw on their part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with the consequences of the questions that you didn't ask, right? They don't have to live with it. They're gonna be gone, they're gonna be doing their own thing,
Yeah.
but they don't have to live with it
That's
at the
right.
end of the day.
That's right.
So that's good. So now tell us about, now I'm assuming, but I don't know. Tell us about you going into this business, this consulting business. So tell us a little bit about what made you want to start the consulting business.
Yeah. So back in 2018, so we're like a year before. Back in 2018, I started to feel like there's something more I should be doing. And it's like, what more you should be doing, girl? There's an MD after your name. What, what more? You don't have enough on your plate? 2 kids, a husband. There's an MD after your name. You're a leader in your own right. What, you
There's
know,
levels to it, though.
there's levels.
That's levels.
But here's the thing that I knew way back then. I felt it in my spirit that there was something. But Dr. Viola, I couldn't tell you what that thing was. And the reason I couldn't tell you, and I knew it that moment, was because I was so busy.
Mhm.
I was so bogged down. It's like I didn't have time to sit down and figure it out.
Mhm.
I didn't have a clue to what it was. Not a single clue. And when as the time went on, I could feel I was stressed. I was worn down. My attitude wasn't the greatest. Okay. My kids will always tell you they love me, but I don't know if they like me, babe.
My job for them to like us.
you
Well,
know. And so I would say that when I got breast cancer, things start to change my mind in terms of I need to prioritize my health, right? And for everybody listening out there, please don't even think that I'm that great at it, because I'm telling you right now, even when I said I need to prioritize my health, I was thinking in terms of how would this affect other people.
mm,
It took having surgeries and having to recover. Like my family, they came in like this, and if I even tried to lift an arm to open the blinds, they were like, "What are you doing? What's going on?" So I was forced to sit. I
mm,
was forced to sit. And in that sitting, it got easier with time. I had time to think. I had time to do the thing I knew I didn't have time to do back in 2018.
mm,
This then got abutted by what? A pandemic and a lockdown.
mm.
So now not only am I sitting, I don't even have to feel FOMO like the world is moving on without me, because we
Correct.
all slow down. Right? Right? And in my slowing down, I had to sit down and think to myself, what how'd you get here?
Mm,
How did you get here? And as I was thinking, how did I get here? I was also thinking, how would I lift out of it? It is at that point that I realized I had lost balance. I had stepped away from boundaries. I let my boundaries slip. Okay. I had not been taking care of myself. Everybody else was getting taken care of. I had not taken care of myself. Okay. Now, and then I had to think, how was it going to come back from that? So I knew that I had to start a business and still didn't really understand what it was that I was going to do. That took a while. That took about a couple of years. But I started that business anyway because my head said, you're going to start a business. And I started it. And it took a couple of years. And I said, the thing that's been with you, the reason that you did that podcast, the thing that's been with you is helping others to understand health, wellness, the system, and how to take care of themselves. The part that we often forget, oh, we'll go and we're like, okay, we got to eat better. We got to exercise. And all of that is super important. It must be done. But the part that we often forget is, what can we control? What can we take care of? Defining success on our own terms, taking back some of our autonomy, doing self-care regularly, finding balance on our own terms, all build your wellness and your resilience. And that is how I came to doing what I'm doing.
And I love, because I feel like that, and this is one thing that I say all the time, is that what we go through, if we can embrace the fact that what we go through is not for us, it is for us to help other people. You went through the breast cancer.
Yeah.
You, for a month, ignored the lump in your breast.
Yep.
And you had another friend that came back. That was God telling you twice. When God tells you something twice, you better listen to him, okay? Because if he don't, he go,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say he gonna knock you down, but something's gonna knock you down.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
So, he told you twice. You listened the second time.
Yeah.
The second time you went, but you prioritized your self-care. What you went through was not for you. What you went through was for your business and for your business to survive. And so
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely
Absolutely.
love that. So tell everybody where they can find you at.
Absolutely. So you can find me at www.judywrightmd.com. I'm also on Instagram and on LinkedIn under Judy Wright, MD. Right? These are my handles because I like to make it simple for people. I like it to be clear. But also, as I said before, I had a podcast that known as Queens on Call.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be having another podcast coming out soon called Balance to Excellence.
Love it.
And finally, keep your eyes open for a book. A book called Girl, Get Your Life Off the Fault Line. And it's a book about finding balance so that you can live the big life that you deserve. And it is, anybody can benefit from it, but I won't lie. It is toward us women because we share some unique aspects that we need to balance those balls that we have in the air.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you, Dr. Judy. You have been an absolute pleasure, and I love your story. So again, we ask that you like, share, comment on the podcast, get this out to more people. Also, we have a master class that's coming up next month. We look forward to seeing you on the master class. If you're a nurse and you want to be a coaching consultant, because you can make money with your knowledge, and that is a whole thing. And so, and it's an amazing career where you change the world based off of what you already know. And so this is Dr. V, the #1 nurse coach for nurse coaches and consultants. You guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. Bye-bye.